Hey everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel vlog. Over the past month or so, I gave myself 30 days to go ahead and write the entire first draft of the script for the movie. And so I started on around October the 3rd, and guess what? I finished it. There we go, it's right there.
My name is Pierre James Murphy. I'm an entrepreneur and filmmaker. I'm making a big live action movie, and I give people behind the scenes tips on filmmaking and in life. In this video, I'm going to go ahead and give you a few tips on how to write a first draft for a feature-sized professional screenplay. So let's get right to it.
So anybody out there that's looking to write a screenplay, or if you're just tuning in to find out what we're doing and how it's going behind the scenes, it's all here. And I'm really happy with finally getting it done within like 30 days. This one is about 88 pages, this draft. It's the first draft, obviously, but I left enough room so that I can go ahead and make any tweaks. I can add more scenes to the action sequences and those little filler spots like at the end of Act 2 that usually get written out at the end when we need to chain things together. But overall, the entire story, all the character arcs and all the character storylines are right in the script. So I started off with an outline, and that's how I was able to do it. It usually takes about 5, 6, maybe 7 years before people like us. For me, in my screenwriting journey, it took that long to realize how important an outline was, because it actually guides you to right to the end and reverse engineering it even to get the script done. Otherwise, you just go off in tangents and nothing links up and it's a mess. It's actually a guide that helps you block out the script and get the script done in a very short period of time like that. It's not like as if I was making it all up, you know, from a blank page and just going right to the finish line. It doesn't work like that. I was all blocked out in an outline, and it was carefully detailed like that so that when I was writing it out, I was basically just expanding on the scenes that I already knew were there based on the outline. So for example, James Cameron, when he was writing and he made the movie Aliens, which was the sequel, he wrote a detailed 40-page outline before it was even Aliens. So he got this idea, it was for the sequel, and he made that outline, and he was talking to members at the studio, I think it was Fox that produced it, and they asked him if he would be interested in pitching. So he went back home and he basically attached all the characters in Aliens and everything that went with it to his outline that he already had. He showed up about 4 days later to the meeting and he presented the outline, and the studio was like, wow, this is exactly what we want to make. How quickly can you produce this, or can you write this out? So he went back home, and I think he had like a month or two to write the entire script. And at the same time, he was also writing Rambo, because he was contracted to write Rambo at the same time. And so what he did was he just figured out how many scripts or how many pages of script does he have to produce or write out, and then how many days does he have to do it, and he just divided that number and it gave him how many pages a day he had to write out. For me, in this particular case, I was writing about 3 or 4 pages a day. Some days I had to miss out on writing at all because I was just I went through a procedure, or I was distracted with other things that I had to work on. So I was lucky to make up for it in other days. The beauty about an outline is that it can actually guide you very easily. So my outline in particular was only about 10 pages when I started out. And as I was writing it out, it expanded about 20 pages. When you break down a script, we basically just break it down into different 3-act structure. So let's keep this simple. Say it's a 100-page script, a 100-minute movie. So 1 page equals 1 minute in screen time, right? So if you have 100 pages right here, and you break down the midpoint, that's page 50 right there. That's a pretty significant moment in the story, by the way, and especially in the character's arc. But it's pretty simple. Like, what I did was the first block is Act 1. So that would be up to page 25 right here. And then you start on the second act, and then it would go right into midpoint. So the midpoint would be about page 50, like I said. And then the second part of midpoint, we call that Act 2B or Act 2 2. That would be from page 50 to 75. And then Act 2 would be finished. Then the next part, page 75 to page 100, would be the third act. And that's where everything gets wrapped up and the climax happens. And usually it's really easy to do because you just have to reverse engineer to the midpoint, and from the midpoint you reverse engineer to the beginning. And then what you just make sure you do is that all the arcs and the transformational arcs between the main characters and the leads and the subordinate characters are all there from the beginning to the end. We want to see total opposition, total transformation. And that's how you actually write a really great character-driven story. The outline that I had was 20 pages. So that means that for each block segment, there's 4 blocks. And it was a 20-page outline, so each block had 5 pages to write out all the scenes. That's the brilliant way to do it. If you do it that way, you'll save yourself years of trial and error like I did. But don't get me wrong, if you're just starting out and it's your first, second, third, whatever script or story or movie that you're writing, don't expect to have this done in 30 days if it's, if you're like in your first 5 years of screenwriting. Usually people don't get there until they're, they're well into their screenwriting journey. Sometimes it could take up to 10, 15, 20 years for people to actually break through. But the important thing is that you block it out and you just give it every day. You just give it all you've got, as much as you can, and try and stay consistent with that. So if you're gonna go ahead and write a movie and you're gonna go and produce your movie, or if you're just watching this, what I made sure of is for every scene that we have in this movie, it is absolutely producible, which means I don't need to really go down to Hollywood, knock on studios' doors, solicit people, or solicit financiers or investors, or send this script out through the screenwriting ranks and hope that it lands on some kind of list like the hit list or the blacklist or whatever, because that's not really my style. I don't like doing that. I used to do that when I was in my early 20s, my mid 20s, I was in Hollywood. I hated it, okay? I hated that. So that's why I came back to Toronto and I got into entrepreneurship so that I could produce things myself. And I have a team that can help me. So this movie is pretty special effects intensive. That's totally fine with me because I went out and learned visual effects to do this, okay? So I also have a team that can help, friends, a lot of people. So this one in particular, this story, it's an action sci-fi horror script story, and so there's going to be some 3D used, especially for water, because as I mentioned in previous videos, water cannot be miniaturized with like a miniature set, so that will all be 3D, but you won't know it. And then the other part is compositing visual effects, which is not too difficult if you know what you're doing. And the other really cool part is in the next 6 months or so, we're going to be moving to a new warehouse. And in that warehouse, we're going to be building out a huge set, and it's going to be the actual miniature of some of the scenes and some of the sets in this movie. And it's going to be pretty extraordinary. And the great thing about miniatures is that like you can't mess it up because it's real. It actually, the thing is real. It's not going to look fake. So all we got to do is light it and make sure the scale is correct. Because once the scale is big enough, we could add a lot of details and it will stand on its own 2 feet in front of a camera. The cool thing about it all, what I really like to do, and the reason why I'm really excited about this is because it actually builds momentum. So when I tell people about it and I'm either hiring people or I'm just bringing people on the project because they're interested in coming and helping out, it's really fun to build these things and to see this thing come to life. And it also makes for a really interesting behind the scenes story. So usually when people build miniatures, they don't really like throw them out after the movie's done because it has this whole history to go with it. So we're gonna build this thing out. It's gonna be in a warehouse here in Toronto, in Mississauga area. This will be in about 6 months time, 6 months to 12 months. And for sure I'm gonna be blogging and vlogging that, so you guys will see all of it. Finally, this script here, I'm gonna give myself about a week to retool it, just to review it real quickly, make sure that all the payoffs are properly set up in the beginning of the story, and adding in minor details that needs to be added in before I send it out to my readers. So readers, a lot of people don't understand this and don't know about this, but there is a whole industry in Hollywood that makes a living, and a lot of them do very well, based on just reading scripts. That's what they do. They're like, some of them act as gatekeepers, those ones I don't really touch, but some of them are actually genuinely so passionate about movies that all they do is read scripts all day and they get paid for it. And when they've been doing that for a amount of years, they're really good. They could break down any script and they can give some really good advice, they can give some really good feedback and notes. So I'm going to be sending out to my reader who is really well known. I trust him, and I usually have people sign an NDA, which is a non-disclosure agreement, before they actually hear about any of it. And they usually take about 2 or 3 weeks with it, and then the notes come back. So I'm going to be sending that out about next week, and then I'll be flying out to California. I'll be there for a while. And I'm going to be enjoying myself. I'll be vlogging from there as well, and I'll give you guys some updates on what's going to be happening next. All right, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share if you can, if you want, and let me know what you think about it. Do you have any questions? Do you like this idea? Would you speed it up? Would you take more time with it? Let me know your thoughts. Catch you later.